When I first adopted Rudnick at 11 months old, you could not touch his feet, front feet or back feet. If you tried to get close to either of them, he would basically drop himself onto the ground and hide them underneath his body. He didn't want you touching them. Unfortunately, I documented very little in those early days, but I do have a couple of clips that kind of gives you an idea of how he would react. His back feet were by far the hardest to try to get him used to and comfortable being handled. This is unfortunately the only clip I have that shows you exactly what he would do when you tried touching them. But I'm going to pause this for a second here because I know how this looks. I've had comments on this video before, which is why I'm very reluctant to usually share it. In this instance, we were hoping that by keeping one hand on his withers, no force was being used whatsoever, one hand on his withers while running the other hand down his back leg, he would not do exactly what it is that he did anyways. Because you couldn't get anywhere near touching his back leg, basically anything from his hip on, he would react as he's about to react. So we were hoping that by having one hand on his withers, it would kind of offer some reassurance and comfort so that he wouldn't feel like he needed to drop down the way that he does. We are not using any force whatsoever to bring him down. This is his own doing, and this was exactly how he would react when you tried touching his back legs. It was about 2.5 years before we could actually have a farrier work on him. And it was quite difficult for us to find a farrier that he did like. We had tried a couple of guys prior and he just didn't seem to click well with them. But then we found this lovely lady who had come to the barn to do some other horses. So she was just doing some practice on Rudnick to get him used to when it was going to be his turn. And that's when he did this, which it had been a while since he had done that. I think he was just nervous having someone new touching his legs. Getting Rudnick familiar with having his feet touched was definitely one of the more challenging aspects of his training. That's when I found this amazing woman that actually ended up becoming a very dear horsey friend of mine. She had years of experience beyond me, and her training methods were very similar to my own. And because I'd been struggling for a couple of years already, she offered some new and fresh insight on methods that I could try to get kind of beyond where we had gotten stuck in our training. So on days that I wasn't able to get out to Rudnick, she offered and was able to go out and do some work with him for me. And then on the days that I was able to, I would go out and work on the same things that she had. This is when we started seeing the most improvement in Rudnick's behaviors, and he became less afraid and frightened by people touching his legs. This was definitely not an overnight fix. It still took us about 3 to 3.5 years before Rudnick would stand patiently for a farrier while getting his feet trimmed. There was a lot of patience involved and needed through this entire process because some days it would begin to feel like we were going 10 steps back for every step forward that we made. But we took our time. I wanted Rudnick to build up his confidence rather than just forcing him into a situation that he wasn't comfortable with. But once there was that initial foundation of trust, our progress began to move so much quicker, and it was insane how quickly he started to actually trust us and improve. And this was something I was adamant that I was going to have worked out before we ever put a saddle on his back. I wasn't going to start training a horse to be ridden when I couldn't even do basic care like cleaning his feet. So every time I went out there, it was just dedicated to getting him used to having his legs touched, getting him used to have his feet touched, and just building that bond and trust so that he knew I wasn't going to hurt him once I did have his feet in my hand. And I fully believe it's because we were so patient that we are where we are today. And even with the help of our farrier today, she has done so much to continue to build that foundation of confidence and trust that Rudnick has in people. Rudnick is now 7 years old, and his trust and confidence has improved exponentially since those first few months. The love he has for our farrier is so evident every single time she does his hooves. Whether he's trying to sneak her some slobbery kisses or just resting his head on her back to take a quick power nap while she does his pedicure. I fully believe that we never would have gotten where we are today if we had just used force and bullied him into listening and obeying. But because we took our time, we were in no rush, and we wanted to work from the ground up, build up his confidence, and then address the issues after that. We are where we are today, and I now have a horse who will stand free in his pen for the farrier while she works on him. No halter, and he even picks up his back feet for you before you even have a chance to get back there to ask for them. But it wasn't an easy road to get here, and it wasn't one quick solution fixed it all. It took us years to get to this point with so many methods and solutions that we had to try and fail at before we found what worked for us and Rudnick. But now the result is a horse who's fully confident with having his feet touched and absolutely loves his farrier. So I couldn't be happier, Rudnick couldn't be happier, and despite where we started, I'd say that the end result was definitely worth all of the time and patience it took to get here.